This is the folding e-bike that finally made my steep commute feel flat, and it did it while staying comfortable and planted on sketchy pavement. I'd place the Euybike K6 Plus in the high-power, fat-tire folding e-bike category. It's built for riders who want real torque for hills, a cushy ride on mixed terrain, and the convenience of folding for storage or transport. It's not a featherweight folder you toss over your shoulder. It's a compact cruiser with muscle, better for commuters with hills, folks hauling groceries, and weekend riders who like to wander off the paved path without thinking twice. The design is very function-forward. The frame folds at the middle with a chunky latch that locks in with a reassuring snap, and there's a secondary safety clip that becomes muscle memory after a few uses. The 20x4 fat tires and dual suspension are the visual focus, and they're not just for show. The tires take some of the sting out before the suspension even kicks in, and running them around the low 20s PSI hits a sweet spot for me between grip and rolling efficiency. The handlebar setup is upright and relaxed, the saddle is wide and forgiving, and the rear rack is sturdy enough for a loaded pannier and a backpack on top. I prefer the dark gray finish because it hides dust and scuff from daily use. The integrated lights are a big step up from bolt-on kits. Bright headlight up front, brake light out back, and rear turn signals that actually help drivers figure out what you're doing at night. Setup was straightforward. Mine arrived mostly assembled. I had to align the front wheel, attach the pedals, and tweak the derailleur indexing. The brakes were very close out of the box. A tiny lever reach adjustment made them feel natural. Powering on is quick, and the display is readable in direct sun. The interface shows what you actually care about: battery, speed, assist level, trip, and the fault code readouts came in handy once, when I bumped a sensor during folding and got a quick clue on what to reseat. On the road, the bike has a confident, eager feel. The motor's responsiveness is immediate when you touch the throttle, and pedal assist ramps up assertively. There is a bit of a jolt at low speeds if you're in a high assist level, so I start in a lower PAS when I'm in tight spaces and bump it up as I clear traffic. Top-end speed depends on how you set it up and where you ride. With assist capped, I cruise around 28 miles per hour on the flat without feeling like I'm wringing it out. Unlocked on private roads, it wants to go faster than I typically need, and it still feels stable thanks to the tires and weight distribution. Performance is where this bike earns its keep. The motor pulls hard off the line and doesn't fade on hills. On my steepest climb, right around the point where a regular bike punishes your knees, the K6 Plus holds double-digit speeds without sounding strained. I'm more impressed with how it keeps speed on long grades than with raw top speed, because that's what changes your day-to-day. The hydraulic brakes match the power. Lever feel is light, modulation is predictable, and they stay consistent on long descents without getting spongy. Between the brakes and the big contact patch, stopping feels controlled even on wet pavement. Ride comfort is legitimately good for a folding bike. The combo of fat tires, front suspension, and the rear shock takes the buzz out of broken asphalt and brick alleys. I'm not jumping curbs or doing anything wild, but the bike makes rough shortcuts viable and keeps my hands relaxed on longer rides. The flip side of that comfort is mass. This is a heavy machine. It feels planted when you're moving, which I love. But if you ever have to pedal home with a dead battery or lug it up a stairwell, you will notice every pound. The fold is quick, just not tiny. It fits in the back of a hatchback with the seats down. In a small trunk, you'll be playing Tetris. I spent a few weeks rotating it through my normal routes and errands. For commuting, I like PAS 3 or 4 and keep the tires around 22 PSI. I roll right over trolley tracks and beat up seams that would rattle a narrow tire bike. The wide bars limit ultra-tight turns, so I plan U-turns rather than forcing them. Range has been solid. With the 48-volt 25-amp-hour pack, throttle-heavy city riding with lots of stops and starts gets me in the mid-30s to low 40s miles before I want to charge. When I mix pedaling at PAS 2 to 3 on bike paths, I see 55 to 70 miles reliably. That's with me at about 175 pounds, a backpack, and fall temperatures. Charging from low to full with the included charger takes most of a workday or an evening. Mine typically lands around 7 to 8 hours. I usually plug in overnight and forget about it. One afternoon, I took it on a mix of gravel and packed dirt to test traction and control. The fat tires bite well and don't suddenly wash out on small patches of sand. It's easy to modulate speed on loose surfaces because the throttle is responsive without being twitchy once you get used to it. I wouldn't call it a mountain bike, but for fire roads, canal paths, and shortcuts that look questionable on a skinny tire commuter, it's a yes. I did a grocery run with 2 panniers and a bungee on the rear rack. Milk, produce, some heavier pantry items, and the bike didn't get wobbly. That's where a stiffer frame and the wheelbase pay off. A specific use case where it shines for me is mixed mode commuting. I ride from my place to a park and ride, fold the bike, and slide it into the back of the car. It's not featherlight, but the fold keeps it manageable without a rack on the roof. At work, it tucks behind my desk without taking over the room. If you live in an apartment, the fold helps get it inside elevators and into a corner, even though you'll still feel the heft. For quick errands, I'll roll it out, hit PAS2, and use the throttle to get moving from stop signs. That off-the-line shove makes traffic gaps easier and safer. There are a few thoughtful features that elevate day-to-day use. The headlight throws a clean beam that reaches far enough to see at pace, and the rear turn signals have actually made drivers give me space when I'm setting up for a left. The display's fault codes are not a gimmick. One code pointed me to a loose magnet at the wheel once, and I fixed it in 2 minutes instead of guessing. The battery can be charged on the bike or removed with a key. I prefer charging on bike to avoid handling the pack, but it's good to have the option. I appreciate that the throttle and pedal assist are balanced, so I can choose whether I want to pedal lightly for exercise or just cruise on throttle when I'm tired. Noise from the motor is a soft whine under heavy load, totally acceptable given the torque it puts down. A few nitpicks and real-world quirks. The initial surge of pedal assist can catch you off guard in tight quarters, so I treat PAS1 as my parking lot mode. The turning radius is wider than a standard city bike, which shows up when maneuvering between tight bollards or doing quick turnarounds on narrow paths. The folding latch is sturdy, but the secondary safety ring can feel a little gritty. A drop of lubricant helps. The rubber flap for the charging port could be beefier, and while the derailleur works fine once set up, mine needed more indexing adjustment than I expected out of the box. Here's how I'd sum it up. If you want a compact, comfortable e-bike that actually climbs and keeps speed without drama, the Euybike K6 Plus delivers. It rides like a small, stable cruiser with real range, real braking, and lighting that makes night rides feel safer. It's best for commuters with hills, riders who value comfort over razor-sharp handling, and anyone who needs a fold for storage but doesn't expect a super small or super light package. If your priority is a featherweight folder you can carry up flights of stairs, or a bike with ultra-smooth, super gentle assist at walking speeds, this isn't that. For everything else, daily rides, weekend exploring, grocery runs, mixed terrain, it's been a dependable, enjoyable partner. If you found this helpful, subscribe for more hands-on reviews and leave a comment with your questions or what you want to see tested next. Thank you for watching.